Weak people wait for miracles to happen, but the strong create their own miracles and shape the events that inspire the world. Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Some stories are born in the spotlight. Others come stumbling out of the darkness, bruised, bloodied, limping, and still become the ones we remember forever. This is one of those stories. A story not about triumph, but about honor. Not about gold, but about heart. Not about winning, but about finishing when no one else would have tried. This is the unforgettable journey of John Stephen Akhwari, the runner who finished last and became immortal. The year was 1968. Mexico City shimmered under a brilliant sun as the world gathered for the Summer Olympics, a place where nations competed not just for medals, but for meaning. The marathon was one of the crown events, 42 kilometers. Heat, elevation, exhaustion, a battlefield disguised as a race. Among the runners was John Stephen Akhwari, representing Tanzania. He wasn't the tallest, the fastest, or the loudest. He didn't have sponsors or crowds chanting his name. But he carried something heavier than fame: the weight of a nation, the responsibility to honor his country, the duty to represent his people, the promise to finish what he began. And promises can be heavier than pain. When the marathon began, runners surged forward like a tide. Feet slapped the pavement with a force that echoed in the stadium's bones. Akhwari found his rhythm. Steady, measured, experienced. He wasn't trying to win. He was trying to endure. But marathons do not care about purpose. They test every man equally. And somewhere near the 19th kilometer, a tangle of runners collided. A clash of elbows, shoulders, and desperation. Akhwari was hit hard, thrust sideways. His foot twisted. His body hit the ground violently. The pavement tore into his skin, ripping open his knee. His shoulder crashed, sending a jolt of agony through his body. Spectators gasped. Officials ran toward him. "Stop! Withdraw! You're injured!" One look at his leg made the crowd wince. His knee was bleeding, swelling, screaming for mercy. Almost anyone in his position would have given up. But Akhwari didn't. He tore a strip from his uniform, wrapped his leg, gritted his teeth, and stood up. That moment, that quiet, defiant rise, was his first competence beat. A moment that whispered, "I may not win this race, but I will finish it." While the other runners vanished ahead, Akhwari moved at a painful limp. His leg dragged. His breaths became sharp, uneven. The sun burned mercilessly. Yet he kept going. Because the stakes were never about medals. The stakes were identity. Quitting meant dishonoring the very people he represented. Finishing meant completing the duty his country entrusted to him. Every step he took carried a message. I am Tanzanian, and Tanzanians finish what they start. Hours passed. The leaders crossed the finish line. Medals were awarded. Reporters crowded the podium. Spectators cheered, then gradually drifted home. And as twilight settled over Mexico City, a voice thundered through the half-empty stadium.
Ladies and gentlemen, one runner is still on the course. Everyone froze. One runner? Who? A camera turned toward the city streets and zoomed into the distance. There he was, a lone silhouette, moving slowly, dragging a leg that refused to quit. His bandage soaked with blood, his face contorted with pain, his steps uneven but unstoppable. The remaining spectators rose to their feet because in that moment, they weren't watching a race. They were witnessing human spirit made visible. As Akhwari approached the stadium gate, the sun dipped below the horizon. The track glowed under artificial lights. Shadows stretched across the lanes. He limped onto the field, and the stadium erupted. Not politely, not ceremonially, but with a roar that shook the concrete. A standing ovation for the man in last place. Every clap was a heartbeat, every cheer, a cry of respect, every tear, a realization of what true victory looks like. He didn't wave back, he didn't smile, he didn't look left or right. He just moved toward the finish line, as if it were the only thing holding him together. And when he crossed it, he collapsed. Not in defeat, but in completion. The applause swelled even louder, a thunderous roar for the man who refused to surrender. Later, reporters found him resting against a wall, drenched in sweat, blood, and exhaustion. A journalist dared to ask, "Why did you keep running? You were injured. You had no chance of winning." Akhwari lifted his head. His voice was quiet, but carried more power than the roar of the stadium. My country did not send me 5,000 miles to start the race. They sent me 5,000 miles to finish it. Those words froze the world. Even today, they echo in classrooms, gyms, and hearts. This was his twist. He wasn't competing against others. He was competing against giving up. And that's a race only the brave dare to run. Years passed. Names of gold medalists faded. Records broke. New champions rose. But the world did not forget the man who finished last. Because John Stephen Akhwari taught us the truth most people never learn. Speed impresses, but courage endures. Victory is temporary, but dignity is eternal.
There is a moment in every person's life, a moment where the path ahead feels too long, your legs feel too heavy, and quitting feels like the most reasonable choice. In those moments, we remember runners like Akhwari, people who looked at pain and said, "You may slow me down, but you will not stop me." Life gives all of us our own kind of marathon. Maybe yours doesn't look like a race. Maybe it's healing from heartbreak. Maybe it's rebuilding your confidence. Maybe it's trying again after a mistake you thought you'd never recover from. Or maybe it's simply getting out of bed today. Whatever your marathon is, remember this. You don't need to be the fastest. You don't need to look strong. You don't need applause. You just need to keep going. One step today, one step tomorrow, one breath, one whisper of courage. And if your path feels lonely, if it feels like no one sees your struggle, remember, no one saw Akhwari's first painful steps either, but the world saw his last ones. The world remembers the finish. In your finish, your dignity, your courage, your refusal to give up will speak louder than any victory you thought you needed. So keep going, not because the world demands it, not because success is guaranteed, but because you promised yourself
you wouldn't stop. And that promise, that quiet, sacred vow, is worth carrying to the finish line, even if you cross it last, even if you collapse after, even if only you know how hard it was to get there. Finish. Finish for your own heart. Finish for your own peace. Finish for the person you're becoming. Because some miracles aren't given to us, we create them, step by step, in the dark, when no one is watching.
Every story is a whisper of life. May yours be one that spreads kindness,